I depleted a mining spot. I better get on this. Oh, somebody thumbed down already.
Because you're not live on time.
That's what it is. They're impatient.
No, they just...
No, Nicole, they are the enemy.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. We must assume the worst of everyone.
We just needed coffee. So
Well, yeah.
I was running a little
And
behind.
Jason's not here, which is not his fault because I told him to stay home today. We'll get started in a second here. Just waiting for me to get some. Okay. Yeah. I'm sitting down. It's a sit-down show today. Sporting my Ashley Harwood swag. I'm a fan.
Yeah,
Nicole.
You were filming all week.
We were, indeed. It's pretty good times. All right, where did I can't find the chat.
It's around. It's here.
Hold on.
Oh, new super stickers.
Who's got some super stickers?
Oh gosh. With super stickers, your fan can buy fun, colorful images. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, they will.
No, they won't.
You watch, they're going to do it.
Like super chat. Oh my goodness.
Hold on. Oh, there it is. Okay, I found the chat.
Oh jeez.
Okay, that's what I needed to get going.
I want to see what these super stickers look like.
Don't.
Holy moly.
It's goofy.
That is goofy.
Some goofy stuff.
Yeah, that's not going to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine anybody doing this.
Oh my God, they have to pay for
Yes.
these awful looking colored like
Yes.
clip art stickers.
No.
Guys, don't do that. Take that $1.99 and go give that red thumbs up to charity.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Oh, you can't hear me.
Well, that's because she's unprepared for the show.
Where's the mic?
You threw it down, girl. Careful, careful. Don't bang it around. Don't bang it around.
I didn't throw that. It was like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
What's wrong with Nicole's mic? Well, it's not on her person. That's what's wrong with it. Okay, should we get started? I think we will. Okay, so it's Friday Live. I'm Mark.
And I'm Nicole.
And we're sitting down today. Well, you always sit down.
I always sit down.
I'm sitting on a happy little stool.
After the week we have, I need
It's
to
been a
sit
busy
down.
week, yeah. Ashley Harwood has been here all week filming. We actually filmed all the way up through yesterday afternoon, finished early,
Yeah.
and today's kind of like a bonus day. So she is not here at the moment, but I think she's going to stop by later and do a little turning, hang out. And look, I'm sporting my Ashley Harwood swag.
There you go.
Yeah, she offered me a shirt, and I said, I like maroon. I'll take the maroon one. So here we are. Of course, we've got some questions pre-selected from Patreon. And if you want to help support the show, you can do that. Go to patreon.com/woodwhisperer. That's where you find more information about that. You get some stuff in return. You also get priority treatment for your questions. And I've got about 4 or 5 pre-selected. Nicole will grab the rest of the questions from the chat room live. So
Live.
be nice.
Like
Don't tell her. Don't
Little
tell us we look tired.
Mermaid.
Little Mermaid.
Like Little Mermaid Live. Ava's loving. She just rewatches it over and over.
This is
again.
one of those times where you have a reference in your head that doesn't make sense to anybody else.
No, they do those live productions of like shows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like a big thing.
Yeah, no, I'm
on
the one who found it
NBC.
and said Nicole should watch this. Remember that?
We should probably mention that this week the guild sale is going on, and the theme is bedroom furniture. So we have quite a few projects on sale this week. I'm hoping that he put them on sale.
Yeah, I just kind of did it right before the show. Should be good.
Modern bed and chest of drawers,
Mm-hmm.
the Queen Anne Highboy, jewelry box, and the humidor.
Okay, it's awesome.
Is it both chest of drawers? Did you get both chest of drawers?
You said modern
I meant
bed and chest of drawers.
right, but I meant both of them.
Oh, you're going to
So
have
I
to go
will
fix that later.
I will fix that.
And if anyone wants to jump on that, there's something on sale that won't be on sale in about 10 minutes. Got our tall boys today. Apparently they don't have the holiday theme in the tall boy size.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even notice that.
What's up with that?
Well,
Okay,
you know.
so I want to thank a few folks. I think we missed last week, people who helped us out on Patreon. So thank you to Jason Stromberg, Scott M., Gary Conrad, and Eric Anderson. You guys are the best.
The best.
The best. We love you, and thank you for your support.
Mm-hmm. We wouldn't be here without you.
Old Bartles and James commercial.
I'd still be in bed.
And we thank you for your support. You know Bartles and James, Nicole?
Yes, I was 16 once.
Yeah, you're very old. I was only 8 at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to our questions here. Just making sure I don't have anything else that I'm missing. No,
Oh.
I don't think we're good. Oh, you know what? Shoot.
Yeah.
Mama's going to get my
Because
pre-orders.
2 more weeks?
Yeah, you said basically
December
through
1st.
November. Pre-order for these awesome leather shop notebooks. These are at the woodwhispererguild.com in the store, and get on it because we may not stock these. The response hasn't been huge, and sometimes we allow that pre-order to dictate whether or not we carry something long term. So this pre-order helps us know exactly how many to order. But if you like this kind of thing, this is pretty cool. There is a rule though: you can't write in this especially if you're a man, unless you have a really big burly beard and you have to wear flannel, right?
Sure.
I'm saying it's a hipster thing, Nicole.
Okay.
But maybe we'll have a video later on oiling our notebooks.
Yes.
Right? No, we won't do that. But it is actually pretty cool. It's a really neat way to keep shop notes. And I don't know about you guys, I'm really bad at that. I've got like 10 notebooks, spiral bound, whatever, freebies that I get from companies. And I keep my notes on there. I know where it is during a project, but as soon as the project is over, it disappears somewhere. And it would really be nice to have like a record of these things. It just kind of makes sense.
I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Dan. Dan, I call him Dan, the board game man, because he loves board games. And I'm hosting, for the first time ever at my kids' school, a board game night. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just basically bringing my entire collection of board games, but I was looking for companies to, like board game companies, to donate games to me so I could give them away and encourage board games for the kids.
Sure.
Nobody responded to me. Granted, I only contacted 2 companies, but Dan, he is involved with a lot of charities, and he has a charity called Gamers for Cures, and he works with a lot of these board game companies, so he gets a lot of like one-off games.
Yeah.
So he made up an amazing bundle for me for the kids to give out prizes during my board game night. And I just wanted to say thank you, Dan, if you're watching.
I'm sure he's not.
I'm sure he's not. But if you go over to gamersforcures.com and you can learn more about, he does like a 24-hour board game marathon to raise money, and it just makes my heart happy.
That's good stuff.
And I just wanted to say thank you to Dan. And then his partner, Jerry Tolbert, messaged me this morning. He goes, I want to help too. So I'm like, I'll take any help you give me.
Yeah, definitely.
So they do a podcast. They're both, so Jerry is a doctor and Dan is a pharmacist. So they do a podcast talking about, you would actually like it. Well, you probably wouldn't like, maybe not. I love that you're just like.
I'm sort of lost on why we're talking about this.
Because I wanted to say thank you.
I can't be the only one.
Yeah, I'm using my time.
What? How do we get here?
I'm claiming my time.
Okay, let me do a shout out that's actually relevant to Chris Hole. I don't know how to pronounce your name, Chris. Hoehle. Chris is at Studio CSH. Here's his card if you want to take a look at that.
Oh, he
This is the dude that bailed us out. Ashley needed a short tool rest, and I only had like the full size long one. And this dude stepped up. He said, hey, I got one that you could borrow. And he came all the way over here. We didn't have to even go pick him up. He dropped them off, and it allowed us to finish the production of that spindle turning series. So big shout out to Chris. Instagram at Studio CSH. Thank you so much, man. And hopefully you got your tool rest back yesterday or today. Appreciate that.
Cool.
That was cool.
Games.
Okay, so let's talk more about board games.
I mean, we do sell a board game type table in the guild.
Okay, well, there's our tie.
There's our connection.
Well done, Nicole. Araya Woodworks wrote in. He says, my question is about drum sander speeds. How do you know how fast or slow to run your pieces through? Do you keep one grit on your drum sander, or do you switch grits? So with a drum sander, this is one thing that experience really helps with. The longer you use one, you start to get to know its feelings, and you can hear and feel and actually see. The Powermatic model that I have, the 2244, has a feed indicator that kind of tells you how much it's straining. So if it's under too much of a load, you'll see those little squares light up that tells you, well, a couple things will happen when it's under too much of a load. It's going to slow down, it's probably going to burn, and it's going to wear the paper down and maybe get a hot spot on the paper that turns into one of those black grooves that just ruins the paper. It's shot at that point. So Generally speaking, you want to go pretty slow. And the one mistake you don't want to make with a drum sander is pretending it's a planer, because it's not. It's basically just sanding and surfacing and smoothing that surface. It's a finishing task and not necessarily a stock removal task. So if you go nice and slow, no harm comes of that. It just gives the drum time to move and clear all the waste. As far as, because really it's speed and height that are working together. It's not just speed alone. So how fast do you go? Well, it kind of depends. If I know that I'm just kind of taking a little skip surfacing, like it's really not making a lot of contact, I'll zip those things right through there at full speed. But if I'm doing a big wide board, lots of surface contact, and I'm actually taking off a considerable amount of material, I better not be jamming that thing through there, because it's going to choke up, it might pop a breaker, all kinds of bad things happen, right? So a lot of this comes by listening and seeing how the tool is behaving. You always want to err on the side of caution. Do less, take off less, send it through a little bit slower, and only increase in slow, small amounts, right? You don't want to overdo it. So I can't give you concrete numbers or anything on this, but it's something that you'll get to know the more you use it and the more rolls of paper you destroy by using it incorrectly.
Dyslexic dog wants to know what kind of paper comes inside the journal.
Which side is the water on? Which side is the food on? How would you know a dog is dyslexic?
I don't know.
All right, sorry. I'm dwelling on
an
important topic. Go ahead. What was the question?
Paper.
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 What kind of paper?
Paper.
It is this stuff we actually link to. If you go to the post,
I'll put it in the chat too.
Yeah, go to the item in the store, and I have a link, because I don't want to be in the business of selling notepad paper inserts. Paper. Have you ever seen such paper?
Paper.
So yeah, you could buy these on Amazon. They're super cheap, and you could probably find them in different formats. The ones that we have, what do you call this? Ruled, Nicole? Ruled notebook?
Yes.
So they have lines, but you could probably get them in, I would imagine, blank or maybe even graph paper, grid works, stuff like that. So, all right. Next question I have here is from Stuart Johnson. He says, after checking all my screwdrivers...
Do you know what that's from? Do you know why you say Stuart like that?
Of course I do. Why
would
I not know that?
Because it's been so long since we've watched it.
Stuart. He says, I couldn't... Yeah. After checking all of my screwdrivers, I couldn't find one Phillips that wasn't rounded over. What is your opinion of Torx compared to Robertson's that also round over after a bit of use? Does the Torx driver strip the screw heads as bad as Phillips if over tightened? In my opinion, slot screws don't belong in the workshop. Well, look, you're probably right. Slot screws are kind of a pain in the butt. I have a few, but they're usually like small decorative brass screws, and I think slot screws, if it's exposed in the finished product, take a look at the knife case I just did. Those inner screws that hold the glass in, those retainer strips, were held in with those slotted screws. That's only after I pre-drilled and kind of used the steel screw to thread them and then put the slotted screw in there. Once the slotted screw is in, the final installation looks pretty good, and I think it looks better than any other format of screw in that finished application. So I'm going to disagree a little bit, but for most like utilitarian jobs, yeah, what are you going to do with a slot screw building cabinetry?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do with it? You know what I'm talking about? So hey, let me show you something here real quick. Give you a couple of examples. Boy, I got to work on my layout on this desktop here. Okay, so these are three examples we're talking about here. We've got a pretty standard Phillips, Torx, and then on this side, the Robertson, or as we Americans call it, square drive. I actually use...
I thought that was a picture. I didn't realize it was live.
Oh, look, it's my you can see my dirty fingernails. Hello. So here, maybe I'll just use a marker to point. So square drive is what I actually use the most. I find it to be pretty robust. It takes a very long time for me to actually round over the head on the bit itself. And the screws, you know, I mean, as long as you have that thing fully seated, the Robertson's gonna drive pretty dependably over time. I don't think there's really, I don't know anyone who has any major problems with the Robertson. Phillips is the classic one that most of us know and love. Very easy to strip, especially if you don't have the right size bit to engage with your screw. And then the Torx head is one I actually don't really use that very often. I've got them, and sometimes I'll buy I don't know, like a deck screw or something. Like for the pergola project, I had a couple of Torx screws, and I'll use that. I do find that the Torx is a improvement over the Phillips, and just in terms of how well it grips. But I haven't used them extensively enough to say how much better this is in terms of stripping out long term. Does it round over just as easily? I mean, you got more prongs on there, so even if it does round over a little bit, it's probably going to take longer before the bit becomes useless. But for my purposes, square drive is easy enough to find. I've got lots of square drive bits. I would say 90% of my screws and screw usage is around square drive. So I just thought I would show this in case folks weren't familiar with the different types of screws that we commonly use in the shop. How'd you like that, Nicole? That's preparation right there. That's a quality show. That's what I'm doing. That's what we do here. But yeah, I would look at the chat room, because I bet you some folks in the chat room use Torx, and they would probably have more experience to offer than I do with something like that. But I wouldn't turn down a Torx screw. Like I definitely would take that over Phillips. Okay.
I got a question here from William.
I got about 3 more.
Would the hang chair be a good candidate to modify for outdoor use? If so, would a 2x-dimensional cedar be a decent material? Cedar for the hang chair.
Oh. Yeah, I think it would, because it's kind of a minimalist design. Like when you think of lawn furniture, deck furniture, patio furniture, you tend to want these more minimalist designs that don't have lots of places for water to get trapped.
But what about the leather seat? That would need to be like
well, the seat would have to be completely rethought.
Yeah.
You might just get like some sunbrella material.
Yeah.
Like there are outdoor fabrics and things that you could upholster the seat with. And you might even think about a framework seat or one of those webbing seats, and then some kind of cushion that drops on top. If you go look at Jory's website, he has examples, I believe, of the hang chair with different seats. The upholstered seat that we did in the guild, that was like the first time that he did that. Most of the time, he does a different kind of seat. So go look at those other seats. Those might even be more appropriate for an outdoor piece.
JoryBrigham.com.
Yeah. And it's spelled Brigham, like as in Brig Ham. Yeah, go take a look at that. The other thing with what he said, cedar?
Cedar?
Yeah, I mean, any outdoor friendly. I mean, cedar's a little bit soft.
I was going to say, what about teak?
Well, sure, that's very expensive. Teak is really expensive. If I were building one outside, just as a compromise, I might go with like Sipo, some mahogany variants, sapele, something like in that family would look good, be durable, not really super soft, but also isn't going to break the bank. Well, it's kind of expensive, but not as expensive as teak. Nicole and her fancy rich wood tastes.
Sorry, I don't know. That's what I see in the stores.
Just use teak. That's what I would do. Okay. Jeffrey Smith. Nope. Alec McMahon, Nicole, says, I'm considering upgrading my 8-inch Powermatic jointer to a helical head. When it comes to the install, is truing up the in-feed, out-feed tables the same method as straight knives with just adjusting the in-feed to the outfeed table, or does having the helical head now require you to true up the outfeed table to the blades first? Well, theoretically, if everything is, doesn't really move, right? You're just popping a new head into the place where the old one was. And assuming that your outfeed table was in line with the old one, when the new one comes in, you may have to raise it up or down to make it even with the top of those blades ever so slightly, but you shouldn't have to do a whole like crazy recalibration of the outfeed side. But there's no guarantee that a straight knife cutter head where the tip, like the maximum diameter, where the tip of that blade is, there's no guarantee that's going to be the same when you pop in a helical head. It might be close, but it might not be exactly the same. So you're going to have to look at it. But ultimately, I don't think you're going to have to do this crazy, recalibration of the outfeed side. You might just have to lower it or raise it a little bit. I don't know if you saw it, but I do have a video on that exact installation, and you'll see what I did on the Wood Whisperer site. Okay, Jeffrey Smith now. I think on last week's show you mentioned that you went back to the kapex. If this is the case, would you please share your thoughts on why you made the switch back? I was trying to rack my brain on this. I thought I answered this question last week.
I'm pretty sure you did.
I'm going to answer it again, because that's just the kind of service we provide here, Nicole. Redundancy is good for everyone. Very quick answer. I went to it because I have an employee now, and I was watching Jay flipping boards that are too wide for the non-slider that I had, the DeWalt. And I'm watching, he does most of the rough cutting of our stock now. And I'm watching him flip boards and I'm thinking to myself, like, this was fine for me when I was doing things to prove a point. But now I'm watching an employee wasting his time when I know there's a tool that we could get that would solve this problem.
And they did update it too, right?
It's updated, but I think this update on the Festool, it's almost like you know how there's usually like a few years of car models that are pretty much like, oh, look, we put a scoop in on this quarter panel.
Yes.
So it's the 2019 model.
Yes.
And but only once in a while do they come out with a change that is really like groundbreaking, very different model of a vehicle. Like it's kind of the same thing.
A charger that you just
or
set your phone
phones.
on.
Like like the in-between, the S version of a phone. It's like that. It's basically just a slightly updated model. Rumor has it they have improved the motor, which had some ongoing issues, but it's ultimately the same saw as the previous model. But again, it was the employee thing, and I just felt bad because I'm like, I could see it's annoying for him to have to flip these boards. It was different when it was just me. The other thing is dust collection. Again, having an employee, both of us are working, and we're working much more efficiently now, and that is the tool. If there's ever a tool in the shop where you're just going to go, let me go do one quick cut, right? It's the miter saw. And if the dust collection isn't good, chances are when you do that one quick cut, that's the one you might not put your respirator on for. And the dust collection, if it's bad, you're just kicking it all over the place. And regardless of what any of these new companies are trying to do with their new models, none of them can touch the dust collection efficiency of the kapex. And I wish they would, and it drives me nuts that they don't. But it's the truth. It's just the way it is.
It's what it is. Hey,
so that was the reason why.
Wayne Nicholson in the chat room wants our mailing address. He to mail the coasters he made for us.
Oh, cool.
So Wayne, I'm going to drop it in the chat right now, and I'll put it in the show notes as well in case you miss it. I'm not going to recite it here. But
is that the dude that's showing me the stuff on Instagram?
I'm not sure.
Is that you, Wayne?
Is that you, Wayne?
Wayne, can you hear me? Rick wanted to know if I had to do anything to the miter station cabinet for the kapex to fit. No. So it's about the way I designed to fit the DeWalt saw was a 24-inch gap, and guess what the kapex is? 24. It just slides right in. So the only adjustment I had to make is the one you would expect to make, and that's the height, to make sure that the height of the saw is flush with the top of the countertop. If you want to get the most out of the miter angles, so I can get to 55, but on one side, I believe on the kapex it goes to 60, if I'm not mistaken. I can't get to 60. So that's the one downfall. And you could do a modification of the top. Does not go to 11. You could probably do a modification to allow it to get that far, but the amount of times I'm going to need that, probably maybe never. So I'm not too worried about it, but I've got 55 in both directions.
So I forgot to mention, because I haven't written a blog post, I did put it on the Guild group. Every year, since Thanksgiving is coming up soon, next week. Is it next week?
No.
Are we sure?
Yes. It's
no, it's not the week after.
The week after.
Okay, anyway. I'm putting together a handmade holiday gift guide. So Wayne, you jogged my memory. Since you're making coasters. So if you're watching this and you have like an Etsy business, like things that you sell that you've made, woodworking related, if you email, it's on our contact form. If you go to thewoodwhisperer.com/contact, there's a little drop down that says Handmade Holiday. I need you to give me your store URL. If there's a particular product that you're most proud of or you sell the most, I'll feature you on the Wood Whisperer. I do this every year. So for the past 3 years, I've been sending traffic to small businesses. And
yeah, it's been great. We'll have to mention this at the beginning of the show next time.
Okay.
Like, so people can see
it.
I
kind of want to just,
We'll just mention it again.
I don't know.
Just that when it's dropped in the middle of the show, some people might miss it.
They've already left.
It's kind of
These are only for the dedicated.
The really dedicated people.
The really dedicated.
Yeah.
But yes, I do this every year. If you go on the Wood Whisperer and search for Handmade, you'll see the previous years. It's kind of cool, and those posts stay up. So SEO,
baby.
SEO.
Okay, so someone asked a question
about your knife.
They wanted to know what I'm
carrying
today.
I don't like me flicking that around.
I kind of do it to impress you.
It
but
doesn't.
It just achieves annoyance.
It sends a little
That's the idea.
I don't
want to shock you.
You don't want to. Don't.
So after I did that video, I had so many people telling me that I can't believe you don't have a Spyderco.
Yeah.
And they're a Golden, Colorado. See, look right there.
Oh, look at that.
Golden, Colorado company.
We could drive to their place.
I picked up their Power Up Military 2. I think this is like one of the best sellers.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, what the heck? I'll
Golden,
give it a try.
Colorado.
Right, where you go and get your Coors Light.
Coors Light.
Yeah. Cold brewed, or whatever it is.
We should do tubing and then go to Coors.
That sounds great for two people who don't really drink a lot of beer. Okay.
Somebody asked if we're still selling the card scrapers. Are we? Are we sold out? What's the deal?
I don't know. Go look.
It's right there. The TWW card scraper.
Okay, I guess
it's in stock. Yeah, it's still there. Yep.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. Okay, let's do the next question here. Where am I?
I don't know. Do you need me to?
No.
Okay.
Chris Calnassi.
Chris.
I was discussing with another guild member about grain direction in regards to gluing up faces. The question was regarding building Lazy Susans, but a simple panel suffices for getting the idea out there. Would you see any issue if you had, let's say, 3 boards laid out as a panel, and just maybe the middle board has edge grain facing up, but the outside boards had face grain facing up? Excuse me.
Water.
Oh, I gotta talk, I can't drink. Do you see a problem with this? Okay, so really when we're talking about face and edge grain and things like that, sometimes those terms can really confuse things, because if you take the face of a quarter sawn board, that's a different thing now, right? So I would talk in terms of flat sawn and quarter sawn faces, right? So if you are taking flat sawn material and you have 2 flat sawn boards laying down like this, but in the middle you have a board where the grain runs the other way, like this. Well, you don't really have a flat sawn board in the middle. What you have is a quarter sawn board in the middle. And if you glue those 3 things together, it's probably fine, because really the quarter sawn boards tend to be a little bit more stable. So you have the center with a more stable material that's not going to move as much. The outside boards are flat sawn. They might move more. They might even have more opportunity to cup or warp over time, but there's nothing stopping them from moving. So this thing would probably, as a creation in and of itself, would probably still be stable. On a bigger picture question I would have is, why would you want to necessarily combine them? Is it just the efficient use of materials? Maybe you just have this stuff and you want to use it, so you're concerned that maybe it's not a good idea to put them together. I don't see anything wrong with it, but typically that grain pattern, creates a very specific looking pattern. So you have to decide, is that even what you want to see in the face grain, switching from flat sawn, flat sawn to quarter sawn.
Drink coffee.
I know, what are we doing? Flat sawn to quarter sawn, and then back to flat sawn. Mm-hmm. Stability wise though, I mean, I don't really see any, it's not like you're restricting the movement. It's just something in the middle moving a little less, 2 things on the outside moving potentially a little bit more. So I think it would be fine.
SG Manfield said, by the way, the knife case video that you just released was one of the best videos you've made. It was hilarious and well done.
Thank you.
That was really nice.
Thanks so much. I love it when I put out a video and people tell me this is my favorite project you've ever made.
Yeah.
And when it's like a miter station. It's particularly heartwarming. Yeah. No, I mean, hey, the thing is, different projects identify with different people, and as long as you like it, I'm glad. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yes, I like it. I think it turned out beautiful.
It was a fun little project. I really enjoyed it.
And Duluth.
And you got some. Well, yeah.
You got some funny.
In spite of it having a Duluth, fairly sizable commercial in it.
Yeah. Hey, you don't know this, but there's a Duluth commercial right in front of you. I'm wearing Duluth.
I'm wearing the pants too, actually, and undies. Let's see. Charles Hinton said, "Did Mark's hand fully recover?"
Yeah,
it did. Yeah, I'm pretty much back to normal. Got a little baby scar in there, and
anything coming back?
Once in a while, I feel like a little tinge of pain in there, because there is a potential of reoccurrence of these things.
Yeah.
But nothing that's gotten me to the point that I'm really concerned. So,
that's good.
But full mobility, full strength is back. I can squeeze butts with my left hand now. Okay.
Woo.
Woo. Got my Christmas scoots early.
Ryan Munson just did scroll up. Keep on. He's just recently. That's all old.
Well, that's scrolling down.
There, sorry.
Here, I'm swiping up, but scrolling down.
Up, down. Right there. Super chat.
Do you want to run the show here?
Apparently I need to.
Okay, Ryan says, for the knife fund. Well, thank you, Ryan. I
Thank you,
appreciate it, man,
Ryan.
because if there's one thing I need, it's more pocket knives.
Yeah.
I got more gaps in my case.
Brett Maples, his store's on Facebook. Does that qualify? Yes, because you can. It's a store. You can buy.
You're selling stuff. We'll link to it.
As long as it's not. The problem is custom work doesn't really translate well to this because the idea is to have ready to ship for Christmas or Hanukkah.
If you take custom orders, I mean, this might help get your name out there a little bit. But we find most people seem to have success when they have stock of great gift items, things that are giftable for the holidays.
So Brent, if you are selling specific items on Facebook's marketplace, send me the URL.
I don't know if he's joking or serious, but Brian McQueen wants to know, what does the ban on the band hammer?
That way. It used to be that way.
No, it's on this screen. It's that way.
You're like,
It means to ban
yeah.
or to be banned. I'm going to conjugate the verb here.
Okay.
There is a term called, like when you're a mod in a group or a forum, throwing down the ban hammer means you're banning people from the group. Yeah. So this was a gift from one of our moderators.
It's usually when somebody has broken the rules, crossed the line.
They deserve to be banned.
We just don't take a ban hammer and start banning people.
Sometimes. Sometimes Ben does. It gets a little out of control. But one of our moderators in one of our groups made this, Scott Hampshire made this, and it's really just kind of a running inside joke. But anyone who spends a lot of time in forums or has moderated forums will know the ban hammer when they see the ban hammer.
You feel the struggle.
Yes.
All right, I got a question here. Oh, I'm pulling up maps. Martin Van Gore, what grit of sandpaper for the drum sander do you use?
I think that it might be the most repeated asked question on Friday Live.
Really?
I think I've answered that like 5 different times.
I don't know.
It must be something that, I mean, I don't mind answering it multiple times because clearly people are curious.
Yes.
Do
we have it in Friday? I mean, is it an Amazon thing that I can add to Friday Live?
No, it's just a grit.
Oh, it's just a grit.
It's a grit of
Grit.
paper.
Grit.
I usually keep like 150-ish in there. I'm lazy. I don't like changing paper. So I want to keep a grit that is going to remove mill marks from other tools. And possibly if I want to do a little bit of surfacing, maybe I'm trying to get some veneers cut or string inlay that I did recently. I want to get that down very, very thin. I don't want something that's going to take forever and easily clog up like 220 or something like that. So for me, round about 120, 150, sometimes I'll throw 180 in there. But usually I hover around 150.
Is it easy to swap it out, or is it?
No, it's a giant pain in the butt. It's a drum that you have to wrap paper around, and it's just it takes a few minutes, but it's like changing a blade on a bandsaw. It's just one of those routine things that the less you have to do it, the
when
better.
I have to swap out thread, I hate it.
Yeah, it's just like that.
Aaron wants to know, what is a good starter drum sander, since you're talking about drum sanders?
Jet has some small ones. I think Jet would be a good place to look for starters. What is the company? Supermax, is it?
They're probably pretty equivalent in price with Powermatic.
Well, yeah, I'm not so worried about price as like
Well, I'm worried about because
size.
he's saying starter. When someone says starter to me, that's like I have a very limited budget.
Maybe, but they also might mean one that's not too large and intimidating.
Yeah.
And I think the benchtop models are kind of what we're looking at here. So Jet is a good option for that. And also look at I think it's Supermax.
Yeah, Supermax.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
It's the company that basically came from the whole Formax thing that used to be in the Jet line. It's also confusing. It's like trying to follow relationships with in high school. Okay. What else we got here? Got some more questions?
Jake Baker just said, "What is the least used grit for the drum sander?"
I've never been asked.
Jake,
I've never been asked this question.
Thank you for the super chat and the laugh.
Yeah, and 60 grit. It's like scraping a cinder block against your boards. so don't bother.
Oh, that's funny.
That's a good question. I like that. Chewy says, "Woo!" That's a terrible Chewy impression.
That was, yeah, it was pretty
I've been
bad.
watching a lot of Star Wars lately,
Oh,
though.
the Mandalorian.
Have you ever made a project on your show using only hand tools? No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah, it is Supermax.
Supermax.
What else we got here?
I got questions.
Yeah, hit me with them.
Chaos Under the Moon. I feel like that should be a band. Like Cake by the Ocean.
Yeah.
Chaos Under the Moon. Mark, I've built a coffee table and I want to put a chamfer on the top. How much of a chamfer? Chamfer. I can't say that word. Chamfer.
Or if you're Philip Morley, you say chamfer.
Chamfer. Should I put on a 7/8 inch thick top?
Hey, this is personal preference. Yeah. A bigger chamfer makes a larger statement. There's really not a whole lot of functionality here. I mean, a chamfer eases the edge and prevents it from being dented and gouged, or also being sharp and maybe, cutting yourself on it, which would be bad. So how much you put on there depends on what kind of look you want. And there's no way for me to actually give you a meaningful number. It's something you just have to maybe take some scrap, do a couple different ones, try and view it from different angles. Do you want to be able to see this chamfer from 10 feet away, 15 feet away? The bigger it is, the easier it is to see. So it really is how much of a stylistic statement do you want to make by putting a heavy chamfer on there. Sometimes I'll just do, like on this workbench, it's about, the profile of the chamfer is no more than 1/8 of an inch. And that's just to ease the edge around there. You can't even see it from a distance, but it's my way of easing the edge, and I thought a chamfer looked better than a roundover. So like I said, I can't give you a firm number on that, but you should experiment a little bit. Don't go too far, because I think a big giant chamfer, it becomes like a new facet to the surface. It might look weird, but play with it and see what you think.
Is the table at Jason's, is that a chamfer? I mean, the way that it kind of...
On the underside,
Yeah.
there's a chamfer, and it's a massive...
it's big.
It's more of a bevel, like a
Yeah.
very large-scale bevel.
Yeah.
Not so much a chamfer
Okay.
per se. I always think of like small things.
We just got a couple of super chats. One from Mike Deemers. He said, for the router playing face and mustache.
Yeah.
What's that?
Look behind me. Behind my right shoulder. Wait. Left shoulder.
Oh!
I'm getting my left and right.
Oh, it looks like a little... it's the little ubi.
Yeah.
That's cute.
So, there you go. Mr. Mustache back there.
And then Ben, I'm just here to ban people so I don't get... I think he said fired.
Yeah.
Not
that's
fined.
Fined.
I'm going to fine you, Ben.
It'll be $3, Ben. Pay up.
Oh, Darth Dweeb, thank you for the super chat. For coffee or Disney Plus or 40 grit drum paper. Seriously, Disney Plus, I am loving.
It's pretty good. I just hope they keep coming up with the new shows.
Yeah.
Right. The archive is fine.
A new Mandalorian comes out today.
Yeah.
So
Right. The second one.
I'm really looking forward to that.
A bunch of people also mentioning that drum sanders, just in general, are not beginner or budget friendly.
Right.
Like it's a tool that you add to your arsenal
Later.
later
Yeah.
into your craft.
Usually the question is, should I get a drum sander or no, it's a joiner and a planer. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's the other question.
That's the other question.
Chris Johnson wants to know, when you setting up a shop, do you plan the location of your tools, then dust collection, or vice versa? I would absolutely plan the location of my tools and make the dust collection work from there. There are times where you have to compromise. There might be physical obstructions or construction reasons why you can't run the dust collection that way, and then you decide, do we want to move things to accommodate a better dust collection setup? But when you're deciding on the placement of those tools, do think about tool grouping, so that similar tools, you could have a single drop that can feed multiple tools, or in case of my shop, you have a wall, right? So a lot of the tools that get dust collection are along the same wall, which makes it easier to design better dust collection because you have one long run and then drops, branching off from that single long run. So you don't want to necessarily place your tools in a vacuum. You want to think about dust collection, keeping that in mind, but I would go for workflow first, and then try to make the dust collection make sense for that space, and then compromise as needed.
Mm-hmm. Got a question here from Anthony.
Anthony.
My first Hank chair glue up took a couple months off my lifespan.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for filling a couple thin gaps in the seat/legs joints? Timbermate walnut?
Yep.
Yep.
If you can't fill it with wood, go with Timbermate.
Yep.
That should be their slogan. If you can't do it right, use Timbermate. Yeah. Sometimes those little hairline gaps, it's too much trouble to try to patch them in some way to use wood as a filler. So Timbermate, as far as wood fillers go, absolutely. Hello, clock. One of the best color matches I've seen with things like cherry, walnut. That would be the way I would go, and I've done that, before. I did that on the little tool case under here. Had a couple of hairline gaps with my box joints, and the Timbermate wood filler is about as good as you're going to get for a color match on those things.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you have any more Patreon questions?
Nope, I'm done with Patreon.
Nick Gutterman wants to know, what's a great first-time router? And there are people in the chat room had various opinions.
Yeah.
Bosch, Porter Cable. These are a couple of the brands that came out.
Yeah, Porter Cable. I mean, here's the thing. I'm always worried these days about what's going on with Porter Cable Delta. Just as a company, I mean, they used to be like the go-to workhorse standard, not just routers, but other tools in the shop as well.
Does Milwaukee do anything with the routers?
Yeah, they've got some routers, but I wouldn't go Milwaukee necessarily. I like the companies that provide a good edge guide, right? So that you don't have to buy a crazy aftermarket edge guide. There's only a few that are going to do this for you. DeWalt will probably have an okay edge guide. Some of the Bosch combo kits come with a nice little edge guide. I would probably say Bosch. So when I did my Festool mass exodus and tried to survive with as few Festool as possible, the router I went to was a Bosch. And I got one of those combo kits, so I had a fixed base, I had a plunge base, and they, out of all of the general construction brands, I think their edge guide is one of the best. Still not great. It's still not as good as the Festool. It's still jumpy and a little bit clunky, and the threads are, you got a lot of that play in the threads that I don't like, but you could still get it locked in place and it works pretty well. So I'm just going to throw out Bosch there, but that doesn't mean that that's the only thing you should consider.
Acme Tools is also having a lot of Bosch sales lately. So check out Acme Tools if you're looking for a sale.
Oh.
I would give you our affiliate link, but that's okay. Just go there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Tim JB just wants to know, did you and Cremona ever decide on what you would do for a short project yet? Nope, not yet.
You shouldn't make fun of Cremona's height. Look, just because we're working together doesn't mean it has to be a short project. It could be a tall project.
Exactly.
We have not. We have not. We are negligent in our responsibilities of being good YouTubers that collaborate. And I call myself YouTuber just now.
Don't do that.
And I think I want to pour this hot coffee down my pants as punishment.
John Gallup said, what about the M-Power Edge Guide that you profiled?
I think the M-Power Edge Guide is great.
For
but
an
I don't,
aftermarket.
Yeah, that's an aftermarket solution. I want to reward a company that actually makes a decent edge guide by buying their router.
Yeah.
So that's why I like the idea of Bosch. I want them to know that this is something people want, so let's continue to develop the edge guide to make it better and better. But if any decent plunge router can be outfitted with the M-Power Edge Guide system, so you have options aftermarket, for sure.
Charles Hinton says he has the Milwaukee router and he really likes it, but there are no accessories for it. So
that's exactly why I said not to do that.
But what I'm saying
is,
then
you get the
M-Power with the Milwaukee.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's the thing, I love Milwaukee tools. All of my portable hand tools, like my what do I have? The Hoochie-Moochie. You know what I'm talking about?
Woo, 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 woo.
I got all of my drills, my some of the portable saws that I have. I got a little beautiful one-handed sawzall that I use for cutting branches off the trees. I actually really, really like Milwaukee stuff. I just wish they would put a little more effort into their miter saws and their routers.
Question here from...
Let's do this again. Tyler says his Inventables X-Carve is out to be delivered tomorrow. Any word on getting a CNC? Nope. It's like the have you built anything with hand tools only?
Everybody's just waiting.
Nope.
Keith White has a good question. How do you price your work for friends and family when you're just starting out?
Oh, well, I mean, it depends on how much you value your time.
Yes.
You know, if you got to keep in mind in the beginning, you got to be fair.
Because you're learning.
It's the beginning. You kind of suck at what you're doing, right?
Not 100%, just
some more than others.
Yes.
But chances are the thing you make isn't going to be perfect. There's going to be compromises. The average person might not even notice those mistakes that you make. But I think it's kind of unfair to out the gate be like, well, I'm going to charge $80 an hour and the materials plus 20%. Plus it's family, right?
Yeah.
So how much money you want to make off your own family? But so I think there's a little bit of back and forth. There's a very personal decision on how you want to handle it. What I would do, and what I did in the past, is you're paying, or your time investment is a learning experience for you, and there's value in that. So what I used to do was just say, can you cover the materials? The wood for this project is going to cost $500. I'll build it. It'll be done when it's done. It may not be perfect, but you're getting a brand new dining table, solid wood dining table for $500. You can't beat that deal. So think of it in those terms. That's what we did with Matt
and Lori when you built that table for them. I think you just charged them for material.
Right, and for family members and stuff like that, they're not going to be that picky. And I have something that you made, even if it's not perfect and doesn't have the perfect proportions, I don't think they're going to care. They just want something that you made. And I think it's very fair for them to just pay for the materials. And what you get out of the deal is experience. So
for me, with my quilts, I consider myself still early on, so I've been doing it for about 1.5 years. So, but when I first started, I didn't charge anything I didn't even charge for material. I just wanted, just give me your shirt so I can practice. I just wanted to learn and keep doing it over and over and over again.
It funds your hobby.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the thing. Materials and stuff are expensive. So people waiting for something and paying for the materials is the gas that lets it go.
And it also kind of, it takes the pressure off of me. Oh my God, I messed that up. Or, I need to take longer than I expected, kind of thing.
Woodchuck wants to know how the exploded table has held up. Now, it's funny you asked this because I actually have that table now.
You do? It looks beautiful in your
It
office.
looks great in the office, doesn't it? I got, I'll have to send you guys a picture of this. I have a picture of it with, it's just kind of incidental because my mom moved to New Jersey, kind of as a semi-temporary thing. So in the meantime, some of her stuff is here in Denver, and particularly all the furniture that I made for her. I said, let's not put that in storage. I don't know where it's going to go. We're just going to have a house full of random pieces of furniture, but let's keep it in the house. So one of those tables is the exploded table, and it's sitting in the office. It has one of David Mark's sculptures sitting on top of it, and then I put my knife case to the other side, and I'm like, wow, that looks cool. So it has held up really well, surprisingly, and it's lived with my mom.
Behind a
couch is like a sofa table type thing. So it's not like it's really been abused much, but it is still looking pretty darn good.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's going to look that good in a year after our kids are around it, but
Sean Patterson said last week there was a question about fire detection in the shop that avoids false positive with dust.
Oh yeah.
Heat detectors change in temperature over time or greater than 130 degrees are a quality alternative to smoke detectors in the shop.
Oh, well, there you go.
So
is that easily available? Or is there
I'm not sure.
Old school, smoke detector style, where 9-volt battery type thing? I'd be curious about that.
A heat detector? I can.
You know what? In this shop, it does not hurt to have multiple layers of protection.
Sure.
Redundancy. You don't just want, if you have a shop that's of a decent size, you don't want one fire extinguisher in a far corner. How about one in each corner or one on each wall? Redundancy in the case of safety, multiple detection methods is probably a really good idea.
Well, I mean, you got the gun.
So there's one. Photoelectric smoke / heat detector.
Oh, wow, it's both. Well, but you don't want the smoke detector because of the false
positives. Well,
you want to.
Yeah.
This is
so just a standalone.
This
heat
one
detector.
is a heat detector only, and it's $13.
Yeah, it's got 5-star, one review.
One review.
Well, look into it. Well, I don't know anything about it, but it sounds like a good option.
Yeah. Oh, this one's a plug-in thermal heat detector sensor.
Okay.
That's a little bit more expensive. So yeah, they're out there.
Good deal.
I'll look into that.
Cable A. How are you finding your new Veritas blades comparing?
We're both just tongue-tied today.
How do they compare to Lee Nielsen? That is, if you've used them enough to formulate an opinion. This was not really going to be a surprise to me when I used them. I was not surprised to find that their performance is equivalent. What I'm really interested to see is how that PMV11 holds up, how the sharpening goes with it. But I have always said, and still maintain, even having switched a lot of mine to Lee Valley, that you cannot go wrong with either company. And the way I look at it, it's a little bit superficial, but look at the features, look at the way they look, and consider the fact that Lee Valley is more of a company who's going to try to innovate a little bit on a classic design, and Lee Nielsen is the kind of company who is making a bulletproof, rock-solid version of a classic. Right? And some that may appeal to you, one or the other, and go with that one. Also, if you want to support our friends up north, then go Lee Valley. If you want to support US, then go Lee Nielsen. That matters to a lot of people.
Question here. I'm going through my log here.
Oh,
our good friend Tommaso was in the chat room. He said, ointer question. I think he meant jointer.
Oink, oink.
Is your jointer outfeed table totally flat? Mine seems to drop a bit at the head. It looks like an inch or so past the cutter.
Yeah.
Is about a
16th lower than the rest of the outfeed.
Yeah. Sorry, I got a text.
I don't know. I have not. See, here's the thing. Same thing with my table saw. I get my stuff calibrated. I start checking the work. If the work is coming off of the tools, nice and square, nice and flat, nice and straight, then there is no reason to take a straight edge to your surfaces. I think when we go down that path, we start hunting for problems that don't exist. Because some of these flaws are just not that big of a deal if it doesn't impact the work. So it's only after you do a jointing operation where something's wrong, like the boards aren't coming out flat, I'm getting tapers and wedge-shaped things, and it's just not doing what it's supposed to do. That's the time where I go in and put on my investigator hat and get the feeler gauges, get a straight edge. So my jointer, straight from the factory, required almost no calibration. Maybe the fence was, I had to make sure that was 90. My tables were flat enough, and all the results I'm getting from that jointer are flat enough that I have yet to determine what the state of total flatness is of the jointer. So all that said, I mean, it's just a question of, is it hurting the work? Is it causing you problems? If it's not, then who cares? It's fine.
Who cares?
Who cares? So what?
It's sweater weather.
Okay.
Let's see. Got a question. You have any questions? Oh, you're scrolling through.
I'm scrolling.
I'm actually.
Scrolling.
I'm pulling questions.
Nicole, or my mom says, "Do not get used to my table."
It's not yours.
It really looks good.
It does.
You might have trouble getting it back. Sorry, Mom.
Actually, I like this question from Robert Randall. I'm struggling with finding my own style. There are some styles I like, but I haven't found any good all-encompassing resources. Any advice in finding your own style?
I don't know about that. I'm not a great person to ask.
But you are a good
person. I don't feel like I have much of a style.
You do. You take influence with the woodworkers you work with. And I remember having this conversation with David Marks, and he really encouraged you to work with other woodworkers, because when he found that he worked with other woodworkers, his style changed.
Yeah.
And he was influenced.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though. I'm not trying to develop my own style, right? So if I have a style, it is absolutely this organic mishmash of, 10 different other woodworkers who I've been influenced by.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
But I also don't make a living with my art. I don't make a living with my furniture as I want to go buy a spag piece. Like, I jump around so much.
Yeah.
It's hard to nail me down.
This is his hodgepodge years.
Right. So with someone who's just starting out and maybe they are trying to be a designer and they're trying to build a name for themselves, it's a little trickier for that person to develop their own unique style. And that's why I don't feel like I'm the best to answer this question, because I don't make any effort whatsoever to create a style. if it happens, it happens. There's things I like. I build things I like. So my style is reflective of me just building things I want to see, you know? So again, I'm not really the best person to ask that because I have put this much effort in deciding like what my own furniture or building style
Jason
is.
Small says Asian influenced green and green. That's your style.
Well, that's in there.
Yeah.
Certainly. But I don't even think it's Asian influenced. I think it's David Marks influenced.
Yeah, and he's influenced.
And he may have had Asian influence,
Yes.
right? Definitely green and green influence for sure, because that comes through when I just want to add a little, little cloud lift or something that is totally, picked up from green and green.
Matthew Boss, Bouse, said that your mom is the downvoter in the chat room.
Mom! You're probably right. The other thing that's a little bit difficult when you're trying to develop your style and is almost counterproductive in some cases, like you're saying, look at a bunch of people, get influenced by people. That's a very good way to simply regurgitate what other people are doing. There's a aspect to, like, I can't remember, one of our friends in podcasting was someone who was like, I don't listen to any other podcasts because I don't want to almost, just in the back of my mind, start to emulate what they do.
Sure.
Right? So you're kind of just marching to the beat of your own drum. If you watch a lot of other people or see a lot of things other people build, you can be trapped into just repeating what they do. And sometimes you internalize it so much that you think it's an original idea and it's actually not.
Well, Brandon Gore talked a lot about that and his concrete work and trying to not experience any other concrete work.
Not to be influenced. And it's almost impossible to do. It's unrealistic to think that you won't be influenced by other people. But I'm just throwing that out there because sometimes exposing yourself to all these other things, it may be counterproductive if you're truly trying to come up with something that is a little bit more original. And let's be honest, there's nothing that's truly original, right? You could do a spin on something and maybe that's such a big spin that people see it as something unique. Yeah. But in reality, we're all just doing variations on a theme.
I think Tim JB is right. He said, I think I saw some influence from Back to the Future on Doc's home too. So when you were a wee little boy watching Back to the Future, that little seed was planted in your head.
That green and green influence started early.
Oh, that's funny.
Let's see.
I got more questions.
There's a lot of good comments, but I'm not finding the questions.
Darth Dweeb, question. As a longtime professional woodworker and content creator, in your opinion, what should I, as someone who's new to the craft, be playing on my PS4?
Perhaps the best well-stated question we've ever had on the show. Right? Outer Worlds.
I'm saving Outer Worlds.
For Christmas time?
For Christmas time.
Yeah.
I finished Borderlands 3, which I loved. I am now playing Bendy and the Ink Machine, which is creepy.
It gets old though. I tried a few different times and I'm like, I'm kind of tired of
searching around.
Just the searching for crap and it's like, oh, I didn't see it because it's like meant to be camouflaged.
It's
okay.
I find my annoyance with the game is it doesn't highlight until you get to that place where it's like, oh, you need to go find that stuff. I'm like, well, I just was there. I could have picked it up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's the problem. Let's see. So my mom's trolling us in the chat room. She's thumbing down and saying she's very upset. Let's see what else we got. I'm way behind on my questions. Harry plays Red Dead Redemption.
I still have to play.
Oh yeah, you know what? Thanks for the reminder, Keith. Modern Warfare is on my list. I still got to get to that.
But it's single campaign.
How's Jedi Fallen Order? Is that new? When did that come out?
I don't know.
Let's not talk about video games.
Okay.
This is a woodworking show, Nicole. Okay, what else we got?
No, I'm not playing Fallout 76 anymore.
Hand tool and CNC. That will never happen as a title suggestion. That's funny.
Do I have any other questions? Oh, woodchuck. Oh no, you already did that. You grabbed it before. I logged it. You grabbed it early.
Sam says he heard that from a local radio show host from Orlando that doesn't really listen to other shows for fear of accidentally stealing someone else's bits. Yeah. The funny thing is I don't do it for that reason, but I never watch anyone else. I've said this many times when people are like, who's your favorite YouTuber? And I don't have one because I generally just don't have time to watch. But the end result of that is I guess if there are trends or things going on, I'm probably not going to be the guy who's going to see those and follow those.
You're going to start them.
I'm going to start the trends, whether you like them or not. Though the blonde wig thing has never taken off. No. That's disappointing.
Yeah. There's a super chat. I missed the super chat from David Hunter.
Okay.
Sorry about that, David. Kiddo number 1 is on the way. Congratulations.
Awesome.
And I'd like to make my own furniture for them, knowing concerns of safety. How is milk paint as a finish with tiny ones? Well, that's why we use milk paint on the toy box because it was kid safe, right?
Yeah, go to what is it? Milkpaint.com, I believe. Is it the company that makes genuine milk paint?
I don't know.
Let me go there. They have a lot of information regarding safety, food safeness and all that stuff. I haven't read about it. I mean, I know it's non-toxic and all that stuff, and that, like you said, that's why we used it, safe for kids and pets. So it is a good option. You do want to look into like what they might have for top coating and stuff like that, because it's not necessarily the most durable finish in and of itself. But you're on the right track, and take a look at that. You also have to, be okay with the look. So it sounds like you are, if you're already considering milk paint as an option.
And I would encourage you to look at our main website, the Wood Whisperer. If you go to woodwhisperer.com, let me type it, free-plans. I've tried to kind of organize all of the plans. We have a lot of kids, like there's the art easel.
A lot of the WFC stuff.
Yeah, there's a number of things in there with free plans.
Yep.
In fact, Jason's making an art easel for his girls. There's the toy chest. Is the rocking horse in there? That was a partnership with Wood Magazine.
I'm always confused on the status of that plan, though, because I don't think like we did later, we said we need a copy of this so that we can give this away indefinitely.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the status of that is.
Oh, I forgot about the four in a row game that we did with Hans.
Yep, that's a big one.
Oh, that's funny. So yeah, I'll put this link, and you can kind of collectively see them all in one place.
Jim wants to know if WoodTalk Quarterly is coming soon. I got to check with the guys. I think we might be slated to record today. We were going to try last week, but it was just too hectic. Prepping for Ashley's arrival.
Yes.
So we will, I think we're trying today.
Ben Bodner just did a super chat and said, just joining the party. I hope you're doing well. We are. Though my daughter was coughing last night, and I was like, not another cold.
I know, that's all we need. She just got over one.
Yeah.
Nicole, did you see my question on torsion hinges?
Oh, I didn't. Drop it again.
Brian Thorpe is asking.
Drop it again. SG Mansfield said, Babinga.
Babinga. Old-fashioned milk paint. That's the name of the company.
Old-fashioned milk paint.
Okay, so Chris Johnson wants to know, do you have any complaints about your outfeed table, or would you change anything? Yes, absolutely. And that is a project that's coming soon. Not necessarily the top surface. I think an outfeed table doesn't need to be anything fancy on the top, but like a piece of plywood, or if you want something thicker, a double layer of plywood. So the top is not the issue, it's the base. That base was a quick, cobbled together solution when I was in a much larger shop and I had access to all sides. So when I use that as an outfeed table, the base just doesn't really make sense. There's a lot of dead space, unused space underneath there. So that base is just gonna get completely torn down. I might reuse the little torsion box top, but I might just regain that space because it's about this thick. Well, the outfeed tabletop doesn't need to be that thick. So I will probably go with a new top, regain some of that space, the vertical space, and transfer that space to new storage underneath. And come up with a much more efficient base that allows access from two sides, right? Because the side that meets the saw is useless, you can't really access it. The side on the other side, on my setup, there's a jointer there and like a vac, so I can't do anything with that. So I have to have it accessible on one or two sides to be fully functional. So that's coming soon.
Matthew Baus hooked me up, and here's from Brian, his question. What size torsion hinge do you use in the hall chest, entry chest? Their calculator says I need 260, is that inch?
60 pound.
60 pound.
I don't remember. Did I not put that in the post?
The write-up?
I'd be really surprised if I didn't. Hey, let me go look. Oh, that's the wrong website. What's our website called?
Thewoodwhisperer.com.
There we go. And what was that? We called that a bench, right?
Yeah, it was a bench.
Some kind of bench. I'm looking live on the show. We're doing it live.
Not under workbench. There. Green entry bench.
There it is. I might have just linked to the hinge and not necessarily said which one I used.
Yeah, you just linked to it.
No, I did. It's the one we linked to is the 30 pound.
Yeah, it says you only list the 30 pound on Amazon. Do you get credit for? Do you get credit by the 60 pound?
If you use the link to go there, and then within I think 24 hours,
go somewhere
you
else.
go somewhere else, add that to your cart, and then make the purchase, we would still get credit for that. Here's the thing, though. It depends on how heavy the top is. Some boards are heavier than others. The operation of that top is really dependent on the weight and how it plays with those hinges. So we went back and forth with a couple different sizes. One, like you would think, okay, just in case, let me go with the 60 pound. Well, you know what that does? It's really hard to lift it up.
Yeah.
And it stops it from slamming down, but you can't even move the top at that point. So you can do a combination. You can go with a 30 and a 15, a 30 and a 60. You can mix and match them as you need to. But the 30, I believe, were the ones that we finally ended up with, and that gave a pretty good compromise for that top.
Keith White wants...
And thank you for trying to use the affiliate.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate that.
Really appreciate it.
I just got my text from Matt saying, are we recording today? Yay or nay?
Keith White says, how do I get connected with other woodworkers? There's a turning guild, but no woodworker guild here in Knoxville. My suggestion, hopefully you have Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, it's going to be hard for this because you can create a group called Knoxville Woodworkers. That's what we did here in Denver. We have a group called Denver Woodworkers, and I just asked them a question before they come in that says, where do you live? You wouldn't believe how many people say, like,
Florida,
Egypt. I'm like, well, and I don't let them in.
Yeah.
So if there's not, search on Facebook for an existing group. If there's not one, make one. And people will look for you.
There you go. Jason texted me. He said he confirmed 230 pounds. The 60 pound was too much for the whole bench. Okay, so I think we should probably wrap up.
Yep.
Anything else? Any?
We had a few more questions come in, but we're over time, and I have to get my sales out.
Got to get the sales out, baby.
Ashley's here now. So.
Okay. All right, so let's wrap this thing up.
Can I pick a winner? I'm going to
ahead.
pick 2 winners today. 2. I really liked Robert Randall's question. So Robert, email me, Nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com, and I will get you a project in the guild. And the other one, where was it? Keith White. So Keith White and Robert Randall, I like both of your questions. Email me. I'll get you set up.
Last question. Tim JB says, where are the WoodTalk quarterly recordings posted? Where WoodTalk is posted.
WoodTalkShow.com.
So woodtalkshow.com, and it's in the feed. So if you subscribe to the feed, it's no different than any other weekly episode that we used to do.
Tommaso, you made me laugh. Nicole is the gatekeeper. Does that make Dougie Gozar the Gorgons?
Yeah.
From Ghostbusters?
Yeah, he's a jerk.
Gozer.
Dougie's a jerk. All right, well, thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great weekend. We'll catch you next time.
Bye. Oh, it's our clock. Is it fast? Did we not set
We didn't change it when the clocks changed.
Somebody says, why is your clock an hour fast?
Because stupid time change. Okay, we're done.